In the previous lecture, we have discussed length contraction on the basis of Lorentz transformation. Today, we are going to discuss a very important consequence of Lorentz transformation, and actually, this is known as time dilation. In fact, you have studied in the postulate of classical relativity, particularly in second postulate of classical relativity, that time or time interval is absolute. When you say time interval is absolute in classical physics, what does it mean? It means the time interval of an event measured in any inertial frame which will be actually in relative motion with respect to one another will be same, not different. It means when a stationary observer measures a time interval of an event, or a moving observer measures the time interval of the same event, the value is same. But according to a special relativity, or you can say according to Lorentz transformation, it is found that the time interval of an event depends on the state of motion of the observer. So, time interval of same event in different inertial systems is found to be different in accordance with the special relativity or Lorentz transformation. So, actually, it is found that when an event is observed from a moving frame, then time is actually dilated. When you say time is dilated, it means it is found that the clock which measures the interval of time actually goes slow. So slowing of clock means dilation of time. Now we will understand how we can say that time is dilated with respect to a moving observer or a moving inertial system. For this, to understand this, let us consider two inertial systems. And you can see this figure, there are two inertial systems, S and S prime. And O prime are the observers of these two inertial systems. In fact, in the beginning, that is when t is equal to 0, then the observers O and O prime in the inertial systems S and S prime are at rest with respect to one another. And you can say the origin of these two coordinate systems are coinciding, in fact, in this condition. So in the beginning, we have assumed that S and S prime are not in relative motion, but they are at rest relative to one another. At the moment when these two observers are at rest relative to one another, in fact, in that condition, they synchronize their respective clocks. And let us consider they found that the clocks agree with one another. When you say the clocks agree with one another, what does it mean? It means the time interval between any two events measured by the two clocks of the observers agree with one another. It means the two clocks of the observer O and O prime give the same time interval of an event. But the two clocks will give same time interval of an event when the observers are actually at rest with respect to one another. Now let us consider that the clock in the system S, you can see this figure, this is a clock which is fixed at a point P, and the x coordinate of this point P with respect to the inertial system O is actually x, you can see from the figure. And this clock, let us suppose, gives signals at a regular time interval. It means the time between in the two successive signals emitted by this clock is constant, or you can say same. In fact, the observer O in the system S keeps his clock at a fixed position, as I have told you, at x equal to x in his system, and measures the time interval that elapses between two events, or you can say the emission of two signals that occurs at times, let us say T1 and T2 in this frame. So you can write this fact in brief. Let the clock of the observer O is fixed at x equal to x, and it gives or emitted signals. This signal may be of sound signal or light signal, gives signals at regular time interval. Regular time interval. When you say at regular time interval, what does it mean? It means the time interval between the emission of any two successive signals is constant. And this clock is actually fixed in the frame S because the observer is O, and so the frame will be S. So let us consider that when the time of emission of the signals is measured by the observer O, then what are those times? Let us consider it. So let T1 equal to time of emission of first signal measured by the observer O. And we also consider that T2 is the time of emission of second signal, or you can say second successive signal, and measured by the same observer O. Then the observer O will measure the time interval between these these emission of two successive signals in frame S. So time interval of this event. When you say event, what does it mean? It means emission of the two successive signals is an event, and so time interval of this event measured by the observer O. If we denote this time interval by the symbol T0, remember T0 is time interval, not a particular time, then what will be this? Since the first signal is emitted at time T1, second is emitted at time T2, so the time interval of this event will be T2 minus T1 in frame S. And actually, since the clock is at rest in the frame S, or you can say the clock is fixed at a particular position x equal to x in frame S, so this time interval T0 is known as proper time. So this is actually proper time. When you say proper time, it means actual time, because the time interval between the two events which occur at the same position with respect to an inertial same frame, this is called actually proper time. Now let us consider that the observer O prime, which is fixed in the frame S prime. Now let us start, in fact S dash starts to move in positive x direction with a constant velocity v. And this moving observer O prime actually also measures the time at which the two signals are emitted, and then that observer will measure the time interval of the same event. So let now the observer O prime starts moving with a constant velocity v relative to s in x direction. And this observer will actually measure the time interval of the same event, but from its own frame. So in this condition, let us consider that T1 prime, this is the time of emission of the first signal as measured by the observer O prime. It means the time of the emission of first signal, which was measured by observer O as T1. Now the observer O prime actually measures that time, and he found that the time is not T1 but it is T1 prime. And similarly, we consider that T2 prime is actually the time of emission of the first signal measured by the observer O prime. So in this frame S prime, or you can say the observer O prime, will found the time interval of this event. So time interval of the same event measured by the observer O prime, which is actually a moving observer. So if we denote this time interval by the symbol this capital T, again remember this T is not time but it is time interval of the event, and you can see this T will be actually equal to T2 prime minus T1 prime. Since this time interval has been measured by the moving observer, so actually this time interval T is known as observed time. So this is observed time. Actually later we will see that this time is actually the dilated time, but till now we say it as an observed time. Now according to classical physics, this time interval T and the time interval T naught are actually same. Classically we say that according to the classical principle of relativity, these two intervals T is equal to T naught. But now we will see that relativistically, when you say relativistically, it means according to the special theory of relativity. Relativistically, T will be not equal to T naught, but you will found that T is actually greater than T naught. We will see this after calculation. In fact, by the use of Lorentz transformation, we can found a relation between this T and T naught. And for this, we will actually start with a Lorentz transformation for the time. So now, by Lorentz transformation, you have seen in the previous lecture that in accordance with Lorentz transformation, the time t prime measured by the moving observer is equal to t minus v over c square into x divided by 1 minus v square by c square's square root. So this is the Lorentz transformation equation. Now on the basis of this equation, we can actually relate t1 prime with t1 and t2 prime with t2. So on the basis of this equation, if you write the Lorentz transformation for the time t1 prime, what will be that? That will be simply t1 minus v over c square into x and divided by a square root of 1 minus v square by c square. See here, actually I have not written here x1 in corresponding to this t1 because you know the clock in frame S is fixed at a proper position for which x coordinate is equal to x, not x1. So this is x equal to x. And similarly, you can write the transformation equation for t2 prime. So what will be t2 prime? In fact, corresponding to this t2 prime, the time measured in frame S is t2. So here at the place of this t, we will write this t2. And since the clock is fixed at a position x equal to x, so again we will write here x and divided by root over 1 minus v square by c square. Actually, this is equation 4. Now you can relate the two time intervals, that is t naught and capital T naught and capital T. For that, we will simply subtract this equation 3 from this equation 4. So from 3 and 4, you can see the form of these two equations, and let us find t2 prime minus t1 prime. You can see the denominator is same, so LCM will be actually 1 minus v square over c square to the power half. Actually, I have written this half power instead of the square root, and in numerator you can see the equation that when actually we will subtract the numerator of equation 3 in RHS from the numerator of equation 4, then this v over c square into x will cancel out, and the result left will be simply t2 minus t1. So you can write here t2 minus t1. Now we have assumed that this t2 prime minus t1 prime is what? This is actually t. This is the time interval measured by the moving observer of an event. And this t2 minus t1 is actually t naught. which is the time interval measured by the observer O, actually in whose frame this event takes place. So this will be t equal to t naught over root over 1 minus v square by c square. So you can see from this result that t and t naught are not same, although we have seen that classical physics says that these two time intervals t and t naught will be same, but we can see from Lorentz transformation that these two time intervals of the same event measured by the two observers in relative motion to one another with respect to one another are not same. So in general you can say this t is not equal to t naught because of this factor in the denominator. And again you see that this factor in denominator, that is root over 1 minus v square by c square, this is actually less than 1. And when you will divide this t naught by a number which is less than 1, the result will increase. So you can say as the denominator is less than 1, so this t will be greater than t naught. For example, if you consider that this square root of 1 minus v square by c square, that is this factor, is let us say less than 1, and that is 1 over 2. So if it is 1 over 2, then what will be this t? This t will be simply equal to t naught over 1 over 2, and this will be 2t naught. So you can see that actually this t is then 2 times of the t naught. So what we actually found here, since you can see that t is greater than t naught, so the observer S prime measures a longer time interval between the two events with his clock at rest with respect to him. In other words, a clock in the frame S appears to go slow to an observer in the frame S prime, who is in motion with respect to the frame S. So this phenomenon is known as time dilation. So you can write it here that as the observer O prime measures longer time of an event, so this phenomenon is known as time dilation. This is known as time dilation. When you say time dilation, what does it mean? As I have told you, that observer O prime finds that the clock of the observer O is going slow. So this slowing of the clock of a stationary observer as observed by the moving observer is known as time dilation. In fact, if there are two observers in relative motion with respect to each other, each observer would find that the other moving observer's clock is running slow. So so the consequence of time dilation is in fact reciprocal. So it means the observer O will found that the clock of observer O prime is going slow, and at the same time the observer O prime found that the clock of observer O is going slow. So we can say that this phenomenon of time dilation is reciprocal. So this is a very important fact, that time dilation dilation is reciprocal. And when you say time dilation is reciprocal, what does it mean? It means the observer O prime finds the clock of O running slow, and the observer O finds that the clock of observer O prime is running slow. So due to this, we say that time dilation is reciprocal. You can take a simple example. Let us consider that V equal to, this is just a proper example. If we take that V equal to 0.98 C, let us consider it. Then if we will measure the dilated time, then what will be that dilated time? T will be equal to T naught over 1 minus V square over C square. So this will be 0.98 C by C whole square root. And when you will simplify it, you will find that this is actually T naught over 0.2, and that will be equal to 5 T naught. So you can see that this T is 5 times of the T naught. This is 5 T naught. This is a proper example. Actually, what we conclude from this result? So in fact, from this result, you can say that if moving observer in the inertial frame S dash measures a time interval of 5 seconds, let us say measures a time interval of 5 seconds between two events by his own clock. The interval between the same two events as measured by him on the clock of a stationary observer in the inertial frame S will be of only 1 second. So you can say that if T is equal to 5 seconds, that moving observer says that the time interval of an event is 5 seconds. But if that time will be measured by the stationary observer, then T naught will be only of 1 second. But if you take that the observer O prime is observer O is measuring a time interval of 5 seconds, then actually the observer O prime will measure the same time interval of 1 second. So this phenomenon is actually reciprocal. So you can say that this measurement of time is actually reciprocal. In fact, each observer found the another observer's clock going to be slow, and so this is the event of time dilation, which we have explained on the basis of Lorentz transformation. Again, you can see a very important fact here. If we consider that V is much smaller than C, when you say V is much smaller than C, it means you are talking about the classical limit. I have told you that when we impose the classical limit condition on any relativistic result, then the result actually transforms into its equivalent classical result. So if we will impose the condition V is much smaller than C, this is actually called the condition of classical limit, then you can see from this result A that this V square over C square will be neglected in comparison to 1, and in that condition you will find that the two time intervals t and t naught are actually equal. And you know this is the classical result. According to classical relativity or Newtonian physics, these two time intervals should be equal, and we found it from this relativistic result by imposing the classical limit condition. So you can verify this fact that whenever the classical limit condition is imposed on a relativistic result, the result simply changed into its equivalent classical result. So this time dilation will be actually observed when you will consider that this v is not a small, but it is comparable to a speed of light. For example, in this example you can see v is actually 98% of c. In fact, in that condition the time dilation has been observed. But if you will consider that this v is much smaller than c, then this event will be not in fact any rigorous value, and so in that condition Newtonian physics works well. So this relativistic physics is necessary only when we are talking about the larger speed. So this is all about the time dilation. Now in the next lecture we will discuss another important consequence of Lorentz transformation, and that will be actually simultaneity of two events.